about to begin. We want to welcome you to the Vampire and Devil Show. We want to welcome you to the Vampire and Devil Show. It's gonna be bloody fun. We're gonna kill everyone. Welcome to the Vampire and Devil Show. With lots of blood and lots of guts. Two horror fanatics and rock and roll nuts. Welcome to the Vampire and Devil Show.
What's up, Fangs? How are you guys doing? We're here with a brand new interview. We're back at New Jersey HorrorCon to talk all about what's going on, have some great conversations, talk with some great people. We are very excited for this one. Thom Matthews, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to hang out with us. Of course, Return of the Living Dead, Friday the 13th.
That's right.
But we were also talking yesterday briefly that we got the 40-year anniversary of Return of the Living Dead coming up. I mean, 40 years, that's incredible.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, man,
absolutely. How do you look back at, for in your case, the first two movies of that franchise?
Yeah, it was quite, probably my favorite, for the first one, my favorite filming experience I've ever had. Even the more work I do, I look back because we really bonded with the cast, and just it was a good time. You know, the 80s, it was a good time to be around and shooting horror.
Absolutely, for sure. And it's one of, of course, there's the history of, zombies becoming like a main thing with George and everything like that. But you guys were really your own style of zombie movies where, there was more vocals, brains were a thing.
We had that conversation, which is my favorite scene with the old lady.
Yeah, and the Sinmore paramedics.
Yeah, why do you eat people, not people? Brains. So that whole scene was pretty mind blowing.
Absolutely. Devil?
Yeah, I love that. Like we were talking about being in that first one and the second one, how all of a sudden you're like, wait, this seems kind of familiar. I love that. Like the campiness and the in jokes that if you've seen them, you're like, oh my God, and then all of a sudden the Michael Jackson, Walker coming out of it. I love it. The fact that this movie was more of kind of like the Night of the Living Dead, but with that slapstick 80s comedy.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And how do you, considering that you mentioned that you've got a giant collection that's of cast members from Return of the Living Dead to celebrate next year, how do you look back at those relationships from those movies, with Miguel and everybody, and of course, unfortunately, Suicide's not with us anymore, but how do you look back at those relationships?
Oh, they're great. That's the fun thing about doing the conventions is you get to see everybody in the cast and keep us close. We stay close outside of the conventions, but it just brings us all back together. And, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And especially with that, we were always talking about people doing the makeup and stuff like that. How was it doing the makeup for the movie and stuff like that? Did you have fun with the makeup and the prosthetics, or?
Well, most of my scenes were with James Kieran, so we were in the makeup chair together a lot, and just listening to his stories as a young actor growing up, because he was a veteran at that time.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun for me, and the makeup, depending on what point of the makeup we were in, it took anywhere from an hour to 4 hours to put on, so it was a really special time. On part 2, we found out that we were born on the same day. So we had the same birthday, so maybe that's why we gelled so well together, and we didn't live too far from each other, so we celebrated our birthdays every year until we passed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And how do you look at becoming a zombie and then battling Jason Voorhees?
Battling the zombie, basically, right?
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, I did Return first, and then a year later I did Friday the 13th Part 6, and that was another great experience, filming experience. The opening sequence in part 6 is amazing.
Yeah,
The credits, so it's
so
yeah.
good for sure.
Yeah, and especially with those, like, you know, with the movie and the one-liners and stuff like that. Do you get a lot of fans coming in there and be like, "I can smell your brains. Let me eat your brains." Do you get a lot of like people coming and quoting you and stuff like that from the movies?
They have their special quote that they like.
Yeah.
But there's so many. It's laced with so many great one-liners.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, Thom,
Well,
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
We really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks for taking the
Thanks.
time.
We'll be back with you guys in a little bit. I am Vampire. He is the devil, but he
Thom Matthews.
is Thom
Yeah.
Matthews. Return of the Living Dead. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you in a little bit. Horns up, fangs out.